The Nintendo Switch Lite is the latest in the Nintendo Switch family. It is smaller, more compact, smaller screen, permanently attached Joy-Cons, bunch of differences from the standard Switch, and Kevin, you and I got our hands on them.
Yep, that was the first time either of us got to actually try the system for ourselves, and it was basically what I expected since it was announced.
It was pretty much what I expected too, and I'll be honest, that is not a good thing in my case. I kind of don't see much of a purpose for this console, but you feel differently.
Well, I'm also a little bit torn because I agree that practically speaking, I don't need one since I already own a Switch, but I still went out and I pre-ordered one after our hands-on time with it. But I also feel like I'm an outlier as far as Switch owners go because I use my system primarily connected to a television, whereas you use yours mostly handheld, right?
Yeah, it's only ever docked if I'm taking it to someone else's place or like showing it to family or something.
For me, I'm trying to rationalize my purchase as I'm going to use this as my secondary console. I'll take this with me on the go, and when I'm at home, I'll just play the one I already own.
Well, let's talk about what that secondary console for you will actually be. So as we said, it is smaller and lighter, and that's something you and I both immediately noticed when we started playing it.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot lighter than your original Switch. It feels a lot more comfortable to hold too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not going to get like Switch thumb if you play this for a couple hours on a plane or something.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people have made a big deal about the D-pad, and that's absolutely great. Mm-hmm. But for me, I think the best part is the analog sticks are a little bit bigger than on the regular Joy-Cons.
Yes, ever so slightly.
And they feel a little bit. They don't feel quite as rigid to move around.
Sure.
So that helped a lot.
Yeah, I do agree that D-pad is a plus. The D-pad over the D buttons certainly is better, especially if you're playing like some of those precise platformers that you can find on the eShop. My bigger issue though is that those Joy-Cons are permanently attached. And there's been a lot of talk recently about Joy-Con drift, and obviously if you have that with your Joy-Cons, you can send them in and Nintendo will repair or replace them. But in this case, if you run into that, you just have to send the entire device in, and that kind of sucks.
It's hard to tell if that will even be a problem because the Joy-Cons have a lot of other tech that's not included in the Switch. Like there's the motion controls and stuff, and that's not included in the Switch Lite. So I don't know if that was part of the reason that contributed to those kinds of technical issues.
Yeah, there certainly are fewer parts, so I guess there's less of a chance of something going wrong.
But it's hard to say. That's something that will only be discovered once it's been out in the wild for a while.
Yeah, but that was something that we were told by a Nintendo rep is if there is an issue like that, it's obviously case by case, but you'd probably have to send the full device in. We played a couple different games, all of which I will say ran exactly the same as they do on a standard Switch. I didn't notice, with one exception, I didn't really notice any difference.
Yeah.
The exception being Super Mario Maker. I was having some weird touchscreen issues every once in a while, but they did say that we were not playing with final firmware, so I would expect that was just the reasoning behind it and that wouldn't be an issue. But otherwise, Super Mario Maker, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, those are the games we played, and they all played the same as they did on a standard Switch.
I was very curious about Breath of the Wild because there are some areas in that game where there's like very noticeable frame rate drops. And we didn't get to see that because the demo we played only started us off in the beginning area on the Great Plateau. So I'm very curious to see if like places like the Korok Forest or that frame rate drops are notorious, if that's the same or not on the Switch Lite.
What we played of the games pretty much felt the same as a standard
exactly
Switch.
Same. Yeah.
Some games we didn't get a chance to play that I would have loved to see would be Super Mario Party, because Super Mario Party you only play with detached motion controlled Joy-Cons, and you can pair additional Joy-Cons with the Switch Lite. We were not able to at this event because again it was not final firmware, but I really wanted to see that because for me the largest detriment to the Switch Lite is the fact that you cannot dock it at all. There's also no kickstand. So if you're looking to play a game like Super Mario Party, you literally just have to prop your Switch up against an object. And the Nintendo would not comment on possible third-party devices, of course. And I propped up the Switch Lite like against a little like flower pot or something, and I said, is this what you have to do? And they said, basically, yeah. I don't like that.
That ties into basically the nature of the systems, whereas like the original Switch is very obviously meant to be shared since it has detachable controllers. You could basically give one to anybody and set up a multiplayer session anywhere. This seems like it's aimed as a personal device, so I think they're de-emphasizing that kind of like shared gameplay with the Switch Lite.
To some degree, they're de-emphasizing that, yeah, because I think the idea also as it was pitched to us was that you bring the Switch Lite as an additional system to somebody's like Switch Prime, if you will, and then you can all sit around and play a game.
But you also need to have a copy of that game in order to do that. Mm-hmm.
Right, but your Switch Lite won't be the Prime one that everybody is looking at. So, if you are only looking to play portable, you can get that. But the biggest issue for me is that if you ever have the desire to dock it, you can't.
Mm-hmm. If you could only choose one Switch, I think the versatility of the original is definitely much more appealing because you could play it however you want. You could take it with you on the go. You could play it at home. You could set up a multiplayer session anywhere. Whereas this is a very specific niche that they're trying to fill with the Switch Lite.
Yeah, it seems to me like the Switch Lite is for people who want a new 3DS, whereas the original Switch was for people who are coming from the Wii U.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
For those that might want to pick this up, in addition to the standard Switch, though, there is an option for transferring saves back and forth, correct?
Yes, You need to have a Nintendo Switch Online account, but you could add your Nintendo account to your secondary Switch, and you could download your cloud saves, play it on that console, and upload it again if you want to continue at home or whatever.
So those are the pros and Joy-Cons, if you will, of the Switch Lite. Yeah, I've been waiting to say that. Those are the pros and cons of the Switch Lite. Let us know if you think you're going to pick one up. Let us know in the comments. And for those who are interested in picking one up, they do hit store shelves on September 20th. You can head over to GameSpot to see some of our comparison features between the Switch Lite and the standard Switch. And stay tuned for more coverage on all the Nintendo devices.